Hi, everybody, and welcome to Proline, direct from Las Vegas. I'm Dave Cokin, joined by Jim Feist. We're going to take a look ahead to Week 9 of the college football campaign. We're already heading down the home stretch, and we're going to get into NFL Week 8. First, Jim, if people want to subscribe to the channel, well, that's easy. It's free, and they get bonus stuff at no cost as well.
Absolutely, Dave. Just go to ProlineTV.com, click on the subscribe button. You'll get notifications on new videos, plus you'll be sent a code to get 7 days of my service absolutely free. That's ProlineTV.com.
Well, last Saturday was it was a lot of fun. Okay, it was a very good day for me. Colorado was a big play winner. Maryland outright against Michigan State. Once I saw Hills on the field, I knew I was going to win that game. And if you watched last week's show, I told you about an exclusive personal play that wasn't going to be available online. A lot of these games are available online, but this one wasn't. It was going to be an exclusive that you could only get if you called in, and Utah State comes through, gets the job done. We're going to do it again, and I'm going to soup it up even more this week. This is an exclusive personal play, not available online anyplace. Cost is $49. I think it's the best play on the board, and I'm going to back that up with a guarantee. The entire month of November, no cost. This game has got to get the money for you, or you get the entire month of November at no cost. Phone number is 855-472-2577. Hope to have you in on this one. I think it's going to be a great winner for you. Make sure and make the call, 855-472-2577. Jim, 2-1 with the college high rollers on Saturday. Navy, LSU just smoked them. That's a 14-6 NFL high roller run after the Dolphins came through with a straight-up win on Sunday against the Bills, and you're practically giving away 5 days of those $500 high rollers.
Absolutely, Dave, I am. And by the way, your Utah State, congratulations on that. You've always been really great with these big plays in college sports.
I'll take it.
Yep. We're back, and we're going to do the 5 straight days, $500 high roller releases in all sports for just $99. Just call 866-546-9467. That's a $3,000 value. These plays are $500 a piece. 5 days of elite winners, all 5 days, $99. Make sure you make the call, 866-546-9467.
All right, we're going to get into Clemson and Florida State. I want to touch on some college football first. You know, the SEC has been the best conference in college football for years. Do you think the gap is closing between them and maybe perhaps the Big Ten? You got an Urban Meyer and a Jim Harbaugh in that conference now. They're getting some great players. I think they're getting really close.
You got Riley, D'Antonio, we got Ferentz, you got Harbaugh, you got Meyer, as you mentioned. You get those big high-priced coaches, you're definitely going to have better quality players coming there as well. With the top coaching as well, it's going to close. Now, in the SEC, it's all Alabama. It's always all Alabama. But you know what? Take a look at LSU. One of my big plays last week was LSU. I also had Bama. But LSU, since they changed the coach, they spread it out.
Yep.
They're a different team. Very dangerous. So these two conferences are coming together.
Well, once the team starts buying into what a coach is selling, I think things are going to work. I mean, you can look at that in the NFL.
Yep.
Mike Zimmer is absolutely, to me, the reason the Vikings. I know they finally lost the football game, but they're still playing good ball. They're the reason the Vikings are the threat they are now to do some real damage this year. It begins with Zimmer and the fact that the players are buying into what he's selling.
There's no question about it. You know, you open up a conversation there when you talk about the NFL. The NFL, and everybody's pretty much saying the ratings are down and the quality of the league is 3 to 6 points worse than it had been in the past. I agree with that, and I really believe the reason for that, we can get into this, we can go deeper into this subject, the offensive line play. It's not coming out of college because they don't play similar brand of ball anymore. They're playing the spread offenses. The offensive line doesn't know how to block for a running game or a passing game. And the quarterbacks are coming out and they're not prepared, like Goff coming out of California. He's not ready for the NFL. The only people that are ready for the NFL who played NFL-style football, whether it be offensive line or quarterback. So there's a lot of transitional stuff going on there. As far as Zimmer's concerned, Philadelphia exposed them last week. This is a problem. They're not running the ball that well, and you need to run the ball, especially if your offensive line can't pass block. Guess what happens to Bradford?
Oh,
and he's
yeah.
injury prone.
Yep.
They have some fixing to do there, and I know Zimmer's great, and they also have other coaches there on that staff, offensive and defensive coaches, but they need players to fill those gaps. There's a lot of things we could talk about. We'll probably have a 5-hour show if you really want to dig into all this stuff, college and pro.
All right, so let's talk about a game that's going to feature a lot of players who will be playing in the NFL next year, or at least will have a chance to play in the NFL, and that's Clemson and Florida State. And I think if you go back to before the season starts, this is one of the games that, well, this is a playoff game, an in-season playoff game. Well, it's not anymore because Florida State is not going to be a playoff team this year. Clemson still has hopes of being. They have to get through this game. This is the big test. I got to tell you, I think Clemson's got too much team speed for them. That is a fast football team. And that's funny to say that because Florida State's usually about as athletic as it gets. I think Clemson's too athletic for Florida State, and I think Clemson's going to win this game.
It's a tough place to play.
Oh, sure.
And in college sports, the place, like we've got another game with Wisconsin this week. LSU went up there in the beginning of the year. Granted, they had a different coach. You get these venues, whether it's college basketball or college football, when you get these venues that are so tough, it's really hard to go in there, especially being the favorite, because the teams do know, the players do know they're the underdog, and psychologically that takes a lot of pressure off. This is a tough spot for Clemson. I do agree with you. Better team on the field, better talent. They might have the number one draft choice in Watson. I mean, he started the season off as one of the guys that could win the Heisman. He's still up there.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of talent on this team. I do expect Clemson to win the game. I don't know if they'll cover, and it could be an upset too.
It's a tough spot. I don't think it's going to make my card because there's better plays out there. Let's put it that way.
Definitely better plays.
But I'm going to watch. I know that. I'm definitely going to watch. It's going to be a fun game.
There'll be a lot of people out there in our business and otherwise that are going to say, I'm going to take this dog, this Florida State. They're going to bounce back.
I think that's a natural tendency.
It is.
Especially among handicappers, is to look at that and say, boy, the public will like Clemson in this game. Here's Florida State as a live home dog. I don't know how live they are, though. That's the thing. If I gunned ahead, I'd bet Clemson in the game. I think first half you can make a case for Florida State. But the funny thing is, they've generally been a better second-half team under Jimbo Fisher. They're a team that gets beat in the first half sometimes, then Fisher makes great adjustments, and they end up doing their damage in the second half. I don't think that can work against Clemson.
No, you got a disparity in talent. There's no question about it. If you go back to the way handicapping was, and I've been doing this for a long time, I can tell you in the old days, like NFL home dogs, Monday night home dogs. Automatic bet. That doesn't work anymore.
No.
You have to really analyze position, offensive, defensive, quarterback, running game. Everything's got to be looked at. It was automatic, but the lines makers came in and said, hey, we can't make these Monday night home dogs that big anymore.
Everybody caught on. It's like,
they did.
Yeah, I'll give you an example of this real quick. Opening night of the NBA season. You've got this angle that a lot of us used for years, and nobody really talked about it much. And then it got very popular, which is the team that's raising the championship banners. You want to go against them because it's a distraction, and the other team's sitting there just steaming, and it's a big motivational edge, and the team that's raising the banners isn't sharp. That started to go the other way now. The Cavaliers went out. They didn't have much of a problem winning and covering as on the same nights they raised the banner against the Knicks. So, you got to be careful about these blanket angles that the public catches on to.
That was a big night in Cleveland.
Oh.
I mean, hats off, congratulations. They win the NBA championship, and now they're in the World Series. Unfortunately, the Browns aren't going to make the championship game. Maybe down the road another 20 years. But
the Browns.
the Browns get down to their sixth quarterback.
Here's what the Browns. No, I know what the Browns are going to do. Their game plan's in place. This is pure Cleveland Browns. Now that Tony Romo is going to probably be available at the end of the season,
they'll get him.
They'll probably give up like 3 years of first-round draft choices for Romo, who of course will get hurt before the next season starts.
Exactly.
Listen.
Getting back to that point, though, what a big night for Cleveland.
It was.
I mean, the ring ceremony, they must have 20,000 people on the street, and
awesome.
The stands were filled. And right next door, they're playing the World Series. awesome night, and both home teams win and got the money.
Hey, if you want to ask us any Las Vegas or Nevada type sports wagering questions, we probably have the answer. Go to ProlineTV.com. Just ask the question. It doesn't cost anything. And speaking of not costing anything, be sure to hit the subscribe button to get 7 days of action free.
Plus, go to JimFeist.com for free stats, articles, videos, my free fast facts, plays from the nation's top handicappers.
And when we come back, we're going to look at some NFL Week 8 action, including Round 2 between Sexy Rexy and Belichick. Big showdown in the AFC East. Well, we know what happened a few weeks ago. New England was very short-handed. The Buffalo Bills, give them credit, they went into Foxborough and did something that basically never happens. They shut out the Patriots at home 27-0. It is rematch time at Buffalo this Sunday. Jim, I don't think there's any question. We know where the public's going to be betting on this game. It's going to be on the Patriots, and I got to tell you something. They might be right.
They could be. I mean, you're going to be laying six to 7 points on the road at Buffalo. This is the thing is, Sexy Rex, has always played Belichick tough.
Yeah.
Even with the Jets.
It's the biggest game on the schedule for him.
Yeah, and I guess they really don't like each other. Everybody wants to knock off Belichick. I mean, they've reigned supreme in the whole league, in the AFC for years. I can't really get too excited about laying 6-7 on the road. I like the revenge factor. I don't know if you know enough about teasers, but this is the kind of a game where you can take a 6 or a 7 point teaser on New England, if you like that side, and you tease it down, and you can look for one or two other situations, whether it be a side or a total, throughout the league. So, for example, you might take the second game we're going to talk about. You might like the Falcons to bounce back. So you'd take the Patriots and you'd pick them. And the Falcons would be, maybe what's the line on the Falcons at the moment? But anyway, it would be an edge in both cases. You'd have the Falcons. Well, you'd have them +3. I would never do that. You never cross. You never cross. That's the bad example. But let's say New England, you go down to pick them, and you could take another 6-point favorite, Denver, and take them down to pick them over San Diego. And they have revenge also. So you'd have two revenge plays at pick 'em in situations where I think you have a tremendous advantage. Teasers do work. Professional bettors, as Dave and I are, do use teasers to our advantage. You don't cross 0 because you're losing value. You're losing 1 point when you cross a 0. So you don't do that. But you can take a dog. You can take Indianapolis, where you can find a 3, take 6, you're taking 9. So you do that, but you don't go the other way. So there's an example where you might take a bet where Denver and New England in the teaser bet, 2 teams.
All right. So anyway, it's going to be a fun game. And for me, the key is, does New England stop the Buffalo running game? That's what Miami did last week. Miami committed to stopping the run, and it worked. Taylor's a nice complimentary quarterback, but I don't think Taylor's the type of guy who's going to win games by himself. So I think the Patriots are going to focus on making sure that McCoy, if he's healthy, is not effective. And if that's the case, I think Buffalo's going to have a lot of trouble winning the game.
He's a big if.
Oh, I know he is.
That's one of the kind of players out there, and there aren't many, that can make a difference in a game, a lot of difference. But how about, you talk about running backs. I'm not going to change subject here. How about what this young man in Miami's doing? Jay Ajayi? Look, 200 yards per game.
200-yard games.
Nobody does that. It's incredible.
No, guess what happened? They fixed the offensive line, and good things start to happen when you fix the offensive line. Now, the other game we want to talk about here is Green Bay and Atlanta. Was that a buy sign on the Packers last week?
No.
I absolutely agree with you.
It was not.
And in fact, if Hoyer doesn't get hurt, I think you might have a close game.
Well, they were ahead.
Yeah.
Hoyer's the kind of a quarterback. I don't knock the guy. He played pretty well, decent college, decent at Cleveland. He was one of the few guys in Cleveland that actually had a winning record. He went down to Houston. He won some games down there. He's not a guy that's going to win you the championship game. When he gets to the high-pressure games, he probably isn't going to get it. But he's a good in-season quarterback that can keep you in the game. And he was way better than Cutler at the job. And then, of course, he broke his arm, and now Cutler's back for Chicago. But going back to this game, Green Bay might not have won that game if Hoyer didn't get hurt.
And I thought the Bears kind of gave up when he did.
Let's talk about Aaron Rodgers. we all go through lots of stages. His stage, he came out of California. He came to the pros. He's behind Favre. He sat for a few years. Great quarterback, very accurate, mobile, does a lot of damage with his feet when he doesn't, not for gaining yards, but putting in position so he can get the passer. But he's got a lot of things going on now. He's got the new romance in his life with, beautiful California girl, Hollywood girl actress. He's doing commercials. He's doing acting parts. His whole life has changed. His focus has changed. There's only a couple guys that can do that and still stay focused 100% on their job. Not too many people can have 6, 7 different things going on at once.
I know, I've managed to do it. But.
Yeah, well, you're the exception to the rule, Dave, of course. But anyway, he is not the same guy. Some of the players and the parts around him, Eddie Lacy, Jordy Nelson, they've all aged a little bit. They're not as productive. Always a questionable situation with McCarthy and Rodgers. They supposedly don't really get along. The Falcons are, I think, the #1 offensive team in the NFL. They're tough to stop. I hated what Dan Quinn did last week in the overtime game against San Diego.
Wow.
4th and 1, you on
gotta
your own
go.
40, and you
You got to go.
are you go where?
No, to me,
You
can't-
got to kick the ball.
I don't know. I had no problem with it.
Oh, it's a terrible decision, Dave.
I didn't think at that point they could stop San Diego. I thought Rivers was just killing him at that point.
Yeah, but San
I
Diego's
didn't like the call. I didn't like the
San
play
Diego's
call.
record.
I didn't like the play call.
No.
That was the problem for me. Was the play call.
I mean, you're almost leaving him in position for the field goal there.
You got to make it, but you got to try and win the football game.
Not from there. No, I disagree. I kick it deep and try to stop them. San Diego has been blowing games all year. It's not like they know how to hold on to situations.
But they've kind of reversed that.
Yeah, they did
lately. And San Diego, boy, I'm telling you what.
Well, we could talk about that
that's
game.
A scary 3-4
They're
team.
going up to Denver. They beat Denver 2 weeks ago.
I'm telling you what, they'll pound the Broncos in revenge. I don't know. This San Diego. I'll tell you one thing. This San Diego team is starting to believe that they're pretty good. But anyway, as far as this game goes, I think Atlanta's been exposed a little bit the last couple of weeks. They're not as good as people thought they were, and this is the same thing that happened last year, remember. Now, it hasn't been as spectacular a drop-off yet, and I don't think they were as illegitimate this year when they get out of the gate fast. Last year, that 4-0 was a complete fraud last year. They came back in 4 games in the fourth quarter. They really didn't look that good. But this Atlanta team is starting to go the other way now. I know they got robbed at Seattle, if you want to call it that, but the fact is they lost the football game, and then they got a big lead. I mean, San Diego practically gave them the game in the first half with terrible turnovers. It's 28-10. You can't lose that game at home. They're starting to backslide a little bit. I think this is a really tough game, and I'm not sure I want Atlanta here. My early lean, and I have not played this game. I don't know if I'll bet it. Don't know if it's going to be a service play, obviously. If I don't bet it, it's not going to be a service play. But I'm kind of looking first at the Green Bay side.
I'm going to add a little something to where I started to go with this. The game opened 2.5 and 52. You're seeing a lot of 2.5 minus a quarter. You're seeing some 3s minus 0.5 or even, which means there's been a little bit more action to the Atlanta side. Only 55% of the bets have been on Atlanta, so it's kind of an even draw there. The total has slightly gone up, but I'm going to tell you something. I am not that convinced that Green Bay's offense is prolific.
No, neither am I. That's the trouble. That's a tough game.
I think when you're looking at a 53 in this game, granted, you think about Matty Ice and Aaron Rodgers, you're thinking about points. I'm thinking that maybe this game might be a little too high on the total. I laid 2.5 when it came out. I wouldn't lay 3. I'm picking. We do pick at this. That we try to get the right number. I don't know where the number will go, but I think it was right at 2.5. I think 3. I'm not going to do it because it could be a field goal game. But I'm not so sure it's going to be an over. I actually lean to the under. If I could get 53, 53.5, I'm probably going to go under in this game.
Viewers can get free plays from us right to their cell phone. Jim, it's real easy.
Absolutely. Just text GAME, GAME, to 25827. You'll get a free play right now to your cell phone. That's GAME, GAME, 25827.
When we come back, we're going to take a look at not a specific game, but some game notes that might come in handy this weekend. One of the first things you learn as someone who takes betting seriously is not to put too much stock into small samples because they're just not reliable. I'm going to go ahead and put some stock into a small sample. Brock Osweiler, he looks completely overmatched out there, and I don't know if it's going to get much better.
Okay, Osweiler, first time I saw him was in, well, college. We saw him in college,
Right.
but college and professional football is different. He goes to Denver and he backs up Peyton Manning. Pretty good head coach. Definitely, John Elway is the general manager there. Pretty good guy. He knew how to play quarterback too. I thought he played pretty well as a backup.
As a backup, yeah.
And
I'll give you that, yep.
Well, you got to remember.
But did he ever sell you that he was going to be? See, I wasn't convinced that he was a starting quarterback even last year when he took over. It's like, well, he seems to manage the game pretty well. But I was astonished when they gave him that much money in Houston. And right now, I look right.
Right now you do. In Denver, if you would have just cut the drops by the receivers down in half, he had a pretty good year there in the games that he started. They kept dropping the ball. It was unbelievable, the stuff that they were dropping. He was delivering, they were dropping. Now let's go to Houston. Houston had Hoyer. They had another guy there last year. O'Brien, I don't believe O'Brien is a head coach in the NFL. I think he's an offensive coordinator, period. Head coaching job may be years down the road when he gets more experience. I thought he handled the quarterback situation last year in Houston.
From day one.
He removed Hoyer in the first game after a quarter. And you just don't do that at college or professional. You don't do that. I thought he did a terrible job there. I'm not so sure they have the elements in Houston for a quarterback to succeed. I haven't seen it there before. I actually think they have a better quarterback in Savage on the bench than Osweiler right now because he's been in the system longer. But I do not believe O'Brien's going to be a winning head coach in the NFL.
No, I put it
don't
this
think
way.
it's gonna happen.
I know they're in first place right now. They're the worst looking 4-3 team you ever want to see.
Look at the teams in their division.
The Colts and those other two that never win, the Titans and Jaguars. But I don't think they're going to win the division. I actually think the Colts are starting to improve.
They're starting to get better.
They get some people back
Right.
who have been hurt. They're probably going to be the best team in that division. Luck looks good, okay, and he's
definitely the best quarterback in the
shaking off
division.
the rust now,
Right.
and he's starting to really look
Right.
good. I think O'Brien will get fired if they don't make the playoffs.
I think he should get fired. I thought he should get fired for how he handled the team last year. And I don't mind the signing of Osweiler. When you look at what is the parameter out there for paying quarterbacks, he kind of fit in. It's hard to find any good quarterbacks out there. They're hard to find. And then when you look at the guys that are out there, the Breeze, the Brady, all Eli and all that, they're all getting to the end of the road, and you're bringing in these college guys that are playing spread offenses in college and don't know how to play in the pros. So he is a better prospect than pulling a kid out of college in a spread offense to come to but he's not in the right system. However, he is underperforming even by my standards. That can change with the right offensive line coach, quarterback coach, and head coach. And that's what he needs. I think he has enough talent. He's a talented guy.
Yeah.
He's about 6'8", which is very unusual.
He's huge.
Huge guy.
I wonder if that works against him.
It might, but it remains to be seen. But he got a $72 million contract.
Oh, yeah, he's in good
half the
shape.
money guaranteed. Yep. Never has to work another day in his life unless he invests in some things that I've invested in that didn't work. Anyway, I'm not really happy. We talk about the Carolina Panthers.
Well, I guess they better win this week, huh? Because the season is over if they lose this game. A lot of people are saying it's over already. I wouldn't buy into that.
Well, if Atlanta's caves in and Saints don't come
and here's
anywhere.
the other thing. I think the Kansas City Chiefs were 1-5 last year, and then they won 10 games in a row.
Right.
So Carolina's capable of getting hot, but it better happen real quick.
Well, let's talk a little bit about this game. Let's look at what Arizona had to do last week.
It's a tough spot for them.
Yeah, this is really hard. You're talking about fatigue. You're talking about being banged up. Short week. off 5 quarters of football against one of the most physical teams in all of football, the Seattle Seahawks, ending in a 6-6 tie. The yards in that game, they doubled what the Seahawks got, and they couldn't score any points. So now you're going to start looking at questioning Palmer and Arians and who's screwing up. And then you look at Rivera and what's happening over there in Cam Newton and on the field and off the field press conferences and all the garbage. This is a must-win game
Here's
for
the
Carolina.
interesting thing, and I know that I know you're going to have people. And look, I can't argue against this. I know you're going to have people who say, "Well, boy, Arizona's going to want this one about as bad as they can want a game because they got embarrassed last year in the playoffs by the Panthers." I look at it and say, if there's the right team for Carolina to be facing right now,
It's them.
It's a team that they know
Their confidence level.
their confidence level will be extremely high, and I think of what they saw on Monday, it's going to be even higher. Or Sunday. It was a Sunday night game.
They ran 90-some plays in that game. A short
Unbelievable.
week. This is a physical toll to get on the road. Same thing goes for Seattle. I mean, they were on the field
Although
twice.
Seattle at least can come out of that game and say, we stole that tie, guys. Because they did. I mean, they get destroyed. in the
That was a
football
loss
game.
they turned into
For them, that tie is a win, and that tie is a loss for the Arizona Cardinals.
Absolutely.
It was a disaster. And by the way, Arians, for crying out loud, I mean, what do you know, the biggest play in that game to me was before any of the overtimes. They got a 4th and 1 inside the 20-yard line. Well, your quarterback sneak, it's a 4th and a foot. What are you handing it off for? You got a 250-pound quarterback. All he's going to do is take the snap and lean forward. You're going to gain a foot. Okay? So either kick the field goal, which maybe is not such a good idea the way they kick field goals, or quarterback sneak, for crying out loud. What's wrong with a quarterback sneak? I mean, it's the simplest play in football. These guys outthink themselves all the time. And then, of course, he messed up in the overtime as well. Although, ultimately, it was the kicker.
I'm not going to disagree with you, but I still go back to Dan Quinn. I thought that was a terrible call.
All right.
We have a difference of opinion.
No, that's why it's fun to talk about this
Yes,
stuff.
it is.
If you want to get free plays each day and a recorded message from a real good team of Vegas experts, call 888-478-9222.
And follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Jim Feist Sports. And feel free to send me the direct message with any question you may have.
Now, that's going to do it. Thanks for joining us. We hope you'll do it again next week with another edition of Proline.